Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Toolbox Tuesday, where we put tools in your toolbox and give you all the skills you need to be an awesome Toastmaster. I'm your host tonight. My name is Michael Carlson. I am the new Program Quality Director. I am excited to host my very first Toolbox Tuesday. We got a great host, or a great presenter tonight, Jessica Parker. We're doing our first Toolbox Tuesday of the year, talking about Pathways, your flexible friend. As she says, what did you say? Yes, Pathways can be flexible. In fact, Pathways can be as flexible as you want it to be. You want to know how to choose your own adventure with Pathways? Well, Jessica tonight is going to take us through and show us how to create our own adventure, make Pathways awesome, fun, productive, and useful. With that, I will turn the screen over to Jessica Parker. Please help me welcome Jessica. Let's give her a visual clap.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen with you all. Can everybody see the screen that I'm sharing? Or rather, are there anybody who can't?
I can see it.
All right.
See it. We're looking right at it.
Awesome. Because if you couldn't see it, it would kind of be a bummer. Pathways, your flexible friend. And I see a couple of friends of mine from TNT Toastmasters, a group that meets online via Zoom meeting. Makes it a little easier for us anyway, because we're experienced with Zoom. Hi, Kate. Hi, Janita. Yes, Pathways is flexible. I can't tell you how many people I heard over the last year express dismay, consternation, or some outright ire at Pathways and the rigid behaviors that they felt like they had to follow in order to go through the program. Well, you know, it's new. And when something's new, we're not always as familiar with how to make the most of it. You're asking, how can it possibly be flexible? I have to do level 1. I have to do these 5 projects. I have to do things specifically. Well, all educational programs have those specific characteristics. You have to follow the program. It's flexible in that you can wait to make up your mind and you get to choose your own adventure, not just through the 11 paths. Still skeptical? But wait, don't make up your mind yet on whether or not it's flexible. Why wait on Pathways? Why wait to make up your mind? Well, maybe you're not quite sure which path you want. In one of my clubs, I have a new member who started doing the Pathways projects. He's done the icebreaker. He's done the first speech project. He's done an evaluation of another person's speech. He's still not quite sure, well, which path does he want to choose? He's torn between 2 different paths, and he's in the midst of some career change. Well, there's no rush because those first 5 projects are the same in every single path, which means you can take your time a little bit. Every path also requires the same level 2 project of Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring. So you can complete 6 projects, 6, before making a decision. That gives you some time to mull it over. And oh, by the way, you haven't seen the spreadsheet yet. I promise it'll be worth the wait. Because you can choose your own adventure. You choose a path that meets your needs. For example, this is a real situation that was on the Toastmasters International Facebook page over the weekend. And I thought, oh, this is a perfect example. We've got a Toastmasters member who's pursuing a PhD and has completed the level 1 projects, adapting them to meet their needs. They've done these projects so far on paper because, as I previously stated, you can do those first 5 projects without committing to a path. You can do them on paper. They're the same in every path. The projects are readily available online. Easy. But wait, how do you keep this member engaged? They want to be progressing. Their goals are to work on their PhD. Well, I thought about it a little bit and I said, you know what? If they haven't picked a path, innovative planning is perfect. It may not be the only answer, but it's definitely one. Why? Well, at level 2, you need to connect with your audience. People who are pursuing a PhD typically have to present a thesis, a dissertation. There's an audience they really need to connect with. Okay, that one relates. Check. Understand your leadership style. Leadership is part of roles typically that require you to have a PhD. You're going to be a leader in the community. You're going to be a leader at work. You need to understand your leadership style and then as well how to adapt it. That project's completely relevant to the PhD program of study. Doesn't matter what your PhD is in, you're going to be a leader when you're done. Introduction to Toastmasters mentoring might be a little bit more of a stretch on the surface, but one of the things it talks about is not only how to be an effective mentor, but also how to be a protege or a mentee. And when you're in your PhD program, you're probably receiving a lot of mentoring and coaching and help along the way. You've got great stories to tell. And once you complete your PhD program, you're going to be the one doing a lot of the mentoring. Again, really relevant to what's going to be going on and being important in somebody's life if they're pursuing a PhD. Level 3, you have to present a proposal. That's the required project. Well, again, you can pull that into that presentation of your thesis, your dissertation. Sweet, check. I suggested these electives. There's a longer list of electives than these. You only have to choose 2. My recommendation was to choose 2 from these ones, depending on the needs of the member. Body language, descriptive language, vocal variety. That's all really relevant to presenting that same dissertation. All relevant to somebody pursuing a PhD. Level 4, you have to do managing projects. Well, I don't know about you, but while I've never done a PhD thesis, I imagine it's a lot of work. I remember my master's degree project, and it was a project with a capital P. Okay, so managing projects, you can use the project of building your thesis, your dissertation, whatever it's called at your school, towards your PhD. It's relevant. Here you go. You're continuing to progress through pathways while you're working on things specific to your PhD. Twofer. Yay! Managing a difficult audience or question and answer session would both be good possible electives. There's a longer list again, but these are the 2 that I thought would be most relevant to someone who was going to be prepared to defend their thesis. Level 5, HPL, it's required, the High Performance Leadership Project. Well, getting that feedback and support while you're doing that PhD project is a great way to build those leadership skills. Reflecting on your path you do at the very end, after you do one of the suggested electives. And again, I've picked a couple out of the list that are probably going to be more likely to be relevant, but there are others. I suggested either moderate a panel discussion or prepare to speak professionally, primarily because typically you're defending your thesis to more than one individual. That's where you might want to have that panel discussion. Preparing to speak professionally, well, you want to sound credible when you're defending your thesis. So on the surface, it didn't sound like it was going to be all that relevant, but when you pick a path that matches, you've got something that totally meets your needs. You've picked this adventure. Now, wait a minute. How did I do that? I don't have access to every path. Or do I? Guess what? So do you. So if I go back to my friend, the browser, the first link on this slide, here we are. Sorry, overshot. Paths and Projects, District 4. They have put together an amazing resource that we can all use. Open to the public, open to everybody who wants to check it out. Pick a path, any path. I'm going to pick engaging humor simply because it's the newest path. You can see what the path is for. You can see what the projects are at every level. Level 1. Evaluation and feedback has 3 parts. Researching and presenting involves a lot of research And the delivery is complete with the 5 to 7 minute speech. Let's look at level 4. Here's the required project, Power of Humor and an Impromptu Speech, and you choose one of these electives. There's a lot of choices. You can pick the one that is most relevant to you, or the one that looks most interesting, something you'd like to explore but never thought of before, like maybe creating a podcast. The point is, this resource is here and it's available for you. Free. Gives you a place to look and choose with a little bit of detail. Maybe you're a person who likes a one-pager. The second link on my slide shows the one-page view of pathways in the first 10 paths. This was current as of last year's TELI, last year's Toastmasters Leadership Institute, and was presented at District 6. Here's the thing. Page at a glance. All right, I can just look across. All right, level 1, all the same. All level 2 paths include Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring. And here's the specific projects for those paths. Oh, I really want to negotiate the best outcome. All right, it looks like that's only in dynamic leadership. Well, then that might be the path I choose. But the other place, and I did promise I would take you there, is my spreadsheet. This is on, I linked to the page on the deck, and I'll show you the deck again before we move on. This progress tracking spreadsheet is both for individuals and VPEs. It is the handy dandy spreadsheet. I find it incredibly useful, and I'm still updating it. Every single path has a tab. There's one for dynamic leadership, effective coaching. Here's the engaging humor. What I've done with this is made a few enhancements to the original that I'd seen. When you go to select an elective, it's a drop-down. But wait, how do I know what to pick? Oh, well, that's where the magic comes in. There's this tab for project and evaluation PDF links. There's a link to the project file for every project I could find. There's a few I'm still missing, mostly at level 3, 4, and 5, where it's specific to a particular path. As I get the rest of these gathered, there will be links here in the file. What I do have links for is the evaluation form for every single project for every single path. And as you can see, it's credit to District 25 because they uploaded them all. All I did was put a link. What this allows you to do is take a glance at, hey, I want to know what this project is like. I'm really curious about deliver social speeches. What is that about? Well, click the link. And as you click the link, you've got the 19-page PDF of this level 3 project. You've got the same introduction, assignment, skills that everybody has as they go through pathways. You can take a look, which means you can get a sneak peek at what the project's like. Here's how you do it. In Basecamp, there are videos, there are interactive activities, there are resources. Those will take you back to Basecamp. But you don't actually have to go into Basecamp if you really, really don't want to. So as you're looking through these projects, you get to say, ooh, this is really interesting. One of the other things you get to do is say, maybe this is more relevant to me right now than others. So as I get back to the presentation, these are the links that you might want to note. The bottom link, taking the pain out of pathways.wordpress.com, is my WordPress site. On that site are links to these 2 resources, as well as several other resources for help with pathways. They're things that I found useful or that people in my area had found useful during my time as area director. So how might this look for maybe your average Joe, like say me, my adventure in strategic relationships? This is what mine looks like right now. Something you'll notice is that I did the projects out of order. I want to let that sink in for a minute. Pathways is encouraging people to do the projects in a particular order to build skills. But sometimes life it kind of gives us a different opportunity. For example, this level 3 project, make connections through networking. I didn't want to wait until I got to that project to deliver the speech because I had a great, amazing networking opportunity in March. Well, if I waited till July to present about it, it's not going to be as fresh. And I really wanted to use that project, take the opportunity to learn the networking skills, apply them to the event at the time it was most relevant to me, and then speak about it while it was still fresh in my mind. Well, I did that. And I tested out that you can, in fact, complete the projects out of order. You cannot submit them out of order, but you can complete them out of order. What that means is you can do them when it's relevant to you, when it works for you, when it applies. Because sometimes things in these later paths, later in your projects, are more relevant right now than they would be in 3 to 6 months. Don't be afraid to do them out of order. Get a little wild as you're choosing your adventure. When they are submitted in Basecamp, they have to be submitted level 1 first, then level 2 second, then level 3 third. You can't submit them out of order. Likewise, in Club Central, your Vice President of Education has to submit level 1 first, then level 2, and then level 3. They cannot be submitted out of order. However, they are submitted by the VPE selecting the level and the path from a drop-down, and the dates aren't actually entered or provided to headquarters. So technically, they don't even know I did them out of order. As a result, I've been able to make these really relevant to me. The February date on using presentation software, I did a presentation at Twin Cities Quality Assurance Association. I had to do a much longer presentation than their 5 to 7 minutes, but I wanted to get feedback on how I was using the tool and how I could do it better. Well, it was relevant to me then. That's when I did it. And you can do that too. This is my shameless plug. And I wanted to leave lots of time for questions for all of you because I've done this and this has been a journey I've been taking. But I know that you have questions and you want answers on how you can get more out of Pathways. So first you can ask me questions here, but if you want to do it in person, you can attend my session, Taking the Pain Out of Pathways, at the July Telly. And there's the registration link. And I put my resource site link on the bottom of the page. Then that way, if you didn't catch it earlier, you can catch it now. And no, there's no ad revenue for me off of it, just to be clear. What questions do you have about choosing your adventure in Pathways?
All right. Anyone that has a question, they can go unmute themselves and hopefully one at a time, but let's get some interaction or questions to Jessica. Anyone who's ever seen me present knows I like to interact as much as possible. Let's do the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I like too.
Lots of comments, suggestions. Who wants to go first?
I would like to go first. It's
Awesome.
Juanita speaking. And thank you very much, Jessica, for this opportunity and for delivering this great tool and presentation that you did. I want to know that it would be fine. I mean, I'm not really 100% sure how to phrase my question, but when I spoke with Raul, it sounded to me as though they were very strict on the timing when you take it, and it sounds to me that that has changed in the last couple of months, and that makes me very excited because that means we can actually really make it work for us and get much more out of it. So with that said, do you know when they change on that, or can you give us a little bit more insight?
Sure. One of the things I've seen is that the official line from Toastmasters International is that they want you to do the projects in order because the skills build on each other. The reality is many of us have built some of these skills already. There are many Toastmasters who are experienced, who are seasoned, and doing them when they are relevant is when it gets the most value to us from an educational perspective. Would Toastmasters International say, yay, do it whenever you want it? No, because they're still requiring you to complete level 1, then complete level 2, then complete level 3 in that order when you record it. But it's no different than many of us who have completed projects and manuals and then just held on to them till the end of the Toastmasters year and said, oh yeah, I need to submit those now. It's very similar to the way we have been doing it with the old program. We can just apply that same concept to the new program. Is it fully like Toastmasters International endorsed? I don't know. I'm not asking.
Thank you very much. That definitely helps, and it explained to me a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Janita. Other questions?
Questions or comments? Who's out there? Who's got something to share?
I have can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you, Mark. Yep.
This is Mark Karan. I just, I still have trouble with the interface. I know this is a little bit of sort of a different subject, but maybe you know of a resource I can go to, or maybe it's YouTube videos or what, but I just have trouble with the interface itself. Like I finished, I'm in my level 1 right now, and I've done a few speeches. But it's like I go in there, how do I mark this complete? And I'm poking around and it's driving me crazy.
The interface also just got an update. So one of the things is that the old videos may not entirely work anymore. I know District 6 has been working on videos in terms of how-to videos for Basecamp itself.
Mm-hmm.
One of the workarounds, if it's really frustrating, you don't actually have to mark it complete in Basecamp to get the credit. In fact, you don't ever have to go into Basecamp to get the credit. As long as you submit it in Club Central, you get the credit. What Basecamp does for you, it gives you a way of tracking it, and it gives you access to the project, the PDFs themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the spreadsheet, you could bypass Basecamp altogether.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I have tested that out a little bit too, because if you've got the paper manuals, you're not in Basecamp.
Right. Okay. So it's really the Club Central submission is where it really gives you the credit, right?
Correct. Club Central is where it truly gives you the credit. I've been doing mine in Basecamp, particularly because I want to see how it works, how the interface works. More recently, I wanted to see how the changes applied. And then I wanted to really experience it. All right, where are the pain points in submitting this? Like there's a little trick with, and this gets into kind of my taking the pain out of pathways, but I'm going to tell you anyway. When you do the survey at the end, so all the other forward bars are that little gray arrow on the right to go next, 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 next.
Mm-hmm.
When you do the survey at the end, you have to use the buttons at the bottom of the screen or it won't mark it complete.
Oh.
I tested that one. Found that one out the hard way. I'm like, why isn't it marking it complete? Oh, I hit the gray next button instead of going through the evaluation questionnaire with the next and the submit buttons at the bottom. And if you have trouble marking it complete, that might be what's getting you, because it got me twice.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good to know. Great question, Mark. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mark. More questions. This is all about helping you.
Any other questions we have? Anyone have anything to share? If you listen A's, I could just start calling on people.
Do you hear me now?
I can.
Yes.
Great. This is Mary from District 6. I have a question. If you're Toastmaster for the club, how do you document that into pathways, and of what value does it have?
There is a place in Pathways in the settings, so it's really hard to find, but in your profile and your settings, there's a place to record meeting roles, but it only lets you record each role one time.
Right, but is it in your profile then?
Yeah, if you go into, you find your name, there's a little gear looking setting thing. You click there and it's in, I've got screenshots, hang on a second. I'm like, I've already documented this.
Is it on the
Credit for
on Basecamp?
Basecamp.
Okay.
So when you go into Basecamp, you click on the gear icon in the upper right corner by my account, and then you can enter the date the meeting role is performed and click the save button.
You have to do it in Basecamp though.
That's the only place where they give you credit for it. I've been told, and I have not yet tested this because I haven't gotten to level 5 yet, that there isn't a place to submit it at any point in Club Central.
Okay. You
So
only
the
get credit for it at level 5 then?
You have to complete it by the time you finish level 5. So it's kind of, you don't get credit per se the way we used to. There's no competent leader equivalent for those roles. There's only the one place, and I'm not sure what happens after you complete level 5, if it clears out so you can start over again or what. I haven't tested that yet.
Do you get credit for more than one position? Like if you were general evaluator, you go in and do it the same thing as you did for Toastmaster?
Yeah, there's only, let me see if I can make this bigger. So this is all they have for meeting roles. That's it. There's not the evaluation like we had in the old program. There's not the feedback on most of the roles. There are projects specific to 2 roles, speech evaluator and table topics master. Aside from that, none of the other projects move you forward in pathways. So you can serve Toastmaster, Odd Counter, Grammarian. None of those in and of themselves help you advance in your path in pathways. They do help you advance
table topics?
That's only one project, the active listening project, which is an elective at the level 3 for most paths. It's required at level 2 for a couple of paths.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't even know that spot was in there. So this would be a handy tool for, especially for new members, as they find on to keep track of, okay, I've been a timer, I'll take on Odd Counter, I've done some of these roles, I've done a speech, and then have you done all the roles? And looks like you have not performed the Toastmaster role yet. Or you take that on. So a great tool to work with a mentor and the mentee to.
Yes. Hey, Janita.
I have something on that previous screen that you were on.
Yeah.
When I was VP8, I realized that some of the wording said that if you haven't done 2 of the roles within the last 6 months, you couldn't check off certain labels.
Oh, that's interesting.
I cannot remember what it was, and I'm trying to remember now, but just that everybody knows that every time you do this, you just have to go in and get your latest date that you've done something in on there, and then just make sure what those 2 roles are. I cannot remember. As soon as I find out, I'll email you and maybe we can give it to everybody.
One of the things that I checked with someone who completed a path in District 6, and I asked specifically about meeting roles. And what I was told was that at no point did it come up as part of path submission in Club Central. I'm like,
in Club Central. Okay.
Right. And I'm not sure if it's going to come up in doing my paths. That's part of why I've gotten 1, 2, and 3 done. I'm almost done with level 4, so I'm going to test it out. I come from a QA background, so I have to test it to see how it works.
Absolutely.
So I hopefully will know whether or not it's required for level 4 before the telly. What I won't know is if it's required for level 5 before the telly.
Gotcha.
Is that for all paths?
Yes. except there's only one place to record it. So if you're like me working on 3 different paths, I'm not quite sure how they figure this out. But there's nothing like testing to find out.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Other comments, questions?
Hi, this is Cheryl Lindberg from the White Bear District 167. And we were just kind of getting started as a group with Pathways. Is there a resource for the VPE to use to find out how to see when there's something waiting for approval and how to approve things?
There are oodles of resources out there.
Okay.
Typically if I mark a path complete, an email is triggered to the president, the VPE, and I think the secretary,
Okay.
assuming they have email set up. But if you're not sure, there's this nifty little Basecamp cheat sheet. There's tutorials that are detailed.
Mm-hmm.
And right here is this lovely how Basecamp Manager approves a pathways level completion. What I tried to do is compile everything into one place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this link is here.
Okay.
I haven't looked too closely at the Basecamp approval in terms of how do I know whether or not there is one. I have encouraged people when they complete a path just to make sure you follow up with an email to your VPE so that they know, just in case for some reason, or let them know at a meeting in person, in case their email isn't in the system or Toastmasters International had a glitch or it was spelled wrong. So I've always followed up with my VPEs. However, having said that, they've also already gotten emails. I've watched that come through. And the person who completes the path also gets an email.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I just had one other quick question. One term that
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that has been used a little bit today would be, I've only looked in Basecamp, so I'm not familiar with Club Central, what that is, how that differs.
Club Central is on the Toastmasters International website.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can get this to come up on, one moment. Allow me to bring it up on here. Oh, fine, I'm gonna have to do it the hard way. Actually, I have to remember my password now.
I'm sorry.
Because I have it saved on a different browser.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go to toastmasters.org, and log in, and assuming you have an officer role in one or more clubs, which that's not my login anymore. I happen to have one in 3 clubs right now.
Okay.
So I have an officer role where I am VPE in one of my clubs.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, 2 of my members from said club are on the line.
Yay.
Yay. So once you log in, and assuming it works, oh yeah, it's thinking. It's not the fastest site. When you go to Leadership Central and you go to Club Central, in my case, I have to pick a club first. So I will pick the one where I've got representatives. And in this is where you can submit an education reward. So under this section, submit education award, click that. And this is the area where it matters. That is, this is the part that Toastmasters International, once you submit here, they will update your credential. So even though I finished Basecamp and it was marked complete in Basecamp, if Club Central isn't updated, it doesn't reflect the accomplishment.
Okay.
So you have to do both as a VP of Education. And right here, you can select a member. I'm going to pick Janita because she's on the phone. And it'll give me options because I know she's already in Pathways.
Mm-hmm.
And so you
And
can
I
pick.
didn't do Club Central ever. I didn't know about it, and I'm at level
Well, you
3.
can't submit your own.
Yes. Oh, that's true too.
So online motivational strategies. Now you completed that, Janita, right? Because you completed level 1 and 2.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, guess what? To her point, nobody submitted it for her. I've now submitted the award, and now it will show up. This is how quickly it is. I'm going to submit another award because I know she completed level 2 last year too. See,
Wow.
when I click Janita's name, now instead of level 1, it's going to show me level 2. See?
Okay.
And it's that easy.
Wow.
Thank you.
But you
Ta-da!
as VP of it,
So much.
you as VP had to do that, right?
Mhm.
Yes, although any club officer can do it, but Janita was the VP Ed last year, so she couldn't do it for herself.
Okay.
So if you are the VP of Education, you need someone else to submit your award for you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Cheryl, thanks for that question. What did
Yeah,
you
that's
say?
a great question.
Where did you say you were from again, Cheryl?
From the White Bear Club, same as
Okay.
167.
160. Oh, gotcha. I thought you said you were from another district. I was like, holy mackerel.
She said that, but she's correct. Club 167.
We are
Wow.
we're worldwide, but no, we are district-wide. Maybe next week. Tell all your friends across the globe.
That's right.
Toolbox Tuesday. Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions? Comments?
I have another issue that came up today. This is Mary
Okay.
from 167.
Hey, Mary.
I did not realize that when you sign up for a certain path, and then you decide, no, I'm not going to go on that path, you have only 30 days to change that path.
Correct.
Most members aren't informed of that.
Yeah, that's part of why I have been, remember I talked about waiting to pick your path? Another way to do that is to go into these resources and look at the paths and projects before you select the path. And you can go ahead and do those first 5 or 6 projects before you make up your mind.
Within that 30 days.
Don't even submit anything online. Just do the projects on paper. The manuals are 100% available online. When I go look at my friendly neighborhood spreadsheet here, all of these projects, 100% available. Pull them up, print them out if you want to. Print out the evaluation forms. You can do all of these without ever signing into Basecamp, just like you were doing the paper manuals, only they're PDFs. And then wait until you know what projects you want to do. Now, it might be that having the ability to preview the projects in all the paths, which is something that Toastmasters, Basecamp, and the paper manuals are not set up to do. But we like to know what we're getting into, right? I don't want to get into my project and realize that I hate it, that I don't really want to know your sense of humor. I'm not that funny. Michael would be great at it, but maybe that's just not me. I'm a little too dry, and that's going to be a project that makes me miserable. Well, if I had picked the engaging humor path, and to your point, discovered only after I was there that there's this project that is just painful, I'd be upset, like anybody would. One of the other things you can do with this tool is look ahead. What are my choices? Let's take a path. Motivational strategies. All right. I have to do the same first chunk of projects, active listening. I consider that a freebie project because you're serving table topics master. You're doing it anyway. Understand your communication style. Great. No big deal. Oh, understanding emotional intelligence. Maybe you're really not interested in that. All right, pick a different path. How about presentation?
What happens, excuse me.
Yeah.
What happens if the Vice President of Education would print that all out and put it in a 3-ring binder, and then the members would have a chance to view it?
Absolutely. It's absolutely an option.
Thank you for letting me interrupt you.
Absolutely. Please do. I appreciate that. Part of the reason I put this together is because I was hearing frustration from people of what's in my path. Like I said, I've got 2 people that I'm mentoring in one of my other clubs who haven't picked a path yet. I showed the spreadsheet to both of them, and one of them was like, oh, this is great help. So now I can look at the projects and plan my path, and then that's how I know the one that's right for me.
Excellent.
And then you don't get to the point where you've purchased a path that you really don't want. Now, like I said, I'm atypical in that right now I have 3 active paths, 2 online, I was a member of 2 clubs at the conversion and 1 paper manual because I wanted to see what happened. In case you're curious, they sent me the level 1 manual only. And in order to get the next level manual, I have to send in a paper form. Doesn't that sound efficient?
So Jessica, you are the District 106 Pathways guinea pig.
Absolutely. You've got to test it out. If I don't know what the experience is and I can't prove it, I'm not going to talk about it. One of the other things that I left in the spreadsheet, but I took out of my copy for my personal use, are these 2 lines, because it helps remind you that you need to do it in Basecamp if you're doing Basecamp, and you need to submit it in Club Central. That's what those joggers are for. So you remember to get it submitted in both places so that you get the proper credit. Just like I did for Janita, because she had it
Jessica,
submitted.
can you remind us where, do we have this sheet available to us, and where can we find it?
This wonderful sheet is on this website. Instead of giving you the direct link, I would recommend you go to this site, because when I update the sheet, the link changes. Yes, I've tested that too. So this is takingthepainoutofpathways.wordpress.com.
Okay.
And all of the other resources, so the District 4, all the pathways, paths, and projects, that link is right here. Pathways, paths in a 1-page view, courtesy of District 6, right here. Basecamp cheat sheet, giving credit where credit is due. There's a tutorial that's pretty detailed. It might be dated because of the recent changes, but generally speaking, these are going to be accurate. One of the biggest changes that they made in the recent update is it's no longer a pop-up window. For those of you who have pop-up blockers like I do, you might have found that painful previously when working in Basecamp. They now make it open in a new tab. That's a big improvement, because 3 of my tips for my July tally are now obsolete. Which is great.
New tips, right?
Yeah, I've got 1 new tip to go with it for testing.
Yeah, more time for interaction.
Yeah.
That is great. Thank you. Any other questions for Jessica?
Yeah.
Any last minute comments? Questions? Shares? Anyone have a good story to share regarding similar content? Experiences? Wins? We always like win stories. I'm a huge fan.
This is Cheryl Lindbergh again from District 1, from Club 167, excuse me, I did that again. I just thank you for gathering together all those resources. See, that's an amazing amount of helpful sheet for us to work with and learn from. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yes, on behalf of everybody on the call tonight, or on the meeting tonight, Jessica, thank you for all the work you put into this.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Website. That's a lot of good stuff there.
It was great.
They're looking for this resource or this information. You can find it on Google easily enough, correctly. Just take it out of Pathways. That should be easy enough to remember.
Here you go.
Contact Jessica or anyone else on the team if they can't find that specifically, or if you forget. Contact any of us and say, where is that Jessica and where can I find her stuff? To you. Remember to let your fellow members know that tonight's webinar, as well as all of them that have been done in the past, are accessible on the D106tm.org website under the Toolbox Tuesdays. Or this video, once I have it posted, I'll have that up and live, as well as some of the past ones. A couple of last quick plugs. Keep in mind the District Toastmasters Leadership Institute, or the TELI, is coming up on July 27th. We have our education sessions for officer roles, and then we have other education sessions as well between 8 a.m. and up until about noon. Our very own Jessica Parker will be doing her presentation. I believe you're doing 2 of them that night. Is that correct? Or that day?
Doing it twice, yes.
Okay.
Taking the pain out of pathways twice. And that way you don't have to miss other stuff that you're dying to see to check this out.
There you go. So you don't have, if there's education sessions you see that are around her time, you have to miss them all. We get lots of opportunities. Jessica, this is a hot topic, and this is one that people are very interested in.
I hope this is helpful.
That's a popular topic for this year and the year upcoming. I want to thank everyone
Woohoo!
on the
Thank
call
you.
tonight.
Thank
We had a
you.
great audience. We have a big number tonight, so I'm very excited about that.
Is there officer training at the TLI?
Yes.
Training is available at the TLI. That'll be the first round of trainings, the officer sessions. And we had a number of random education sessions going on after that. These classes should be posted, I'd say, within the next few days. The TLI team is working diligently to get all of the roles assigned, filled up, put the agenda there. It should be up, posted, and shared with the entire district within the next few days.
Thank you.
Tell your friends, tell your members. Remember the awards luncheon. A lot of our members are getting recognized. A lot of our clubs are getting recognized for the good, hard work they did this year. Let's make sure we're there to be recognized if we are. We're there to cheer on our fellow members for the ones that are getting recognized for the hard work that they did and for the accomplishments that they made, which is why we're all here. We're all here to grow. We're all here to learn. We're all here to do stuff. I like doing stuff. How about you guys?
Yay.
See a lot of this. That's what I love to see.
And without my clubs, I could not have tested this out. It took the help of every single one of the clubs that I'm a member of to get this point to be able to pull this information together.
Thank your clubs.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. One last quick thing. Toolbox Tuesday my goal is to get it back on a weekly schedule. At least for the most part, there'll be a couple of weeks throughout the year that I may have interruption. I'm looking for content to put on for Toolbox Tuesdays for this year. We will revisit some of the same sessions that we did last year, which is some fresh, upbeat, new faces. Give people opportunity to present as well. If anyone has an idea of a session they'd like to learn more on, or an education session we could host, please contact me through the D106 website, and I will put together a presentation for that and find a presenter. If somebody has something that would like to present, please contact me and submit kind of a bio or a rundown of what you'd like to present. And let's see if we can get you onto Toolbox Tuesday. With that, I think we'll wrap it up for the evening. Once again, Jessica, thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Very well done. A lot of information. We may have to repeat this one quarterly because there's a lot of good stuff on it.
I'm just glad when it's helpful.
Sure to see Jessica at the telly. If you ask her politely, she'll give you an autograph.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Michael.
All right. Thank you all. And I'm seeing all of you next Tuesday night for Toolbox Tuesday. Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Yep, thanks. Good night.
Right.